believe us call our meeting to order. I would like to say good evening to our friends in the Lolo area, and I would like to introduce to you the members of our commission. And I'll start on my right. We have Carrie Samuel. My right up here, the next one would be Representative Ron Erickson. To my left, well, let's start with Tracy Stone Manning. Then we have Diana Mitchell and Julie Case Hacker. Julie is from the town of Potomac. My name is Dale Malum, and I live north of Missoula, a couple miles past Highway 93, past Hawaii up there. So, what we're having our first commission meeting in the county of Missoula tonight, and so consequently, you will have to bear with us, as this is our first time we've had one within the public. So if we do make a mistake, or I'm sure that nobody else will, but I probably will, so I would like to ask for forgiveness to start with. We shall have many more of these meetings in all areas of our Missoula County. It's a new time for the Local Government County Review Commission, as this can only happen once every 10 years if the citizens approve this. Now, we are here to listen to your concerns about your county government. And one of the things that we will ask you is, are you satisfied with your present form of government? Or would you like a change? And if you would like a change, what type of a change would you like in your government? We have, for your perusal, several articles on what the alternatives are available for our county government. We would like your input tonight. However, if for some reason that you decide you didn't want to make an input to us tonight, please feel free that you mail or email your comments to us at your convenience. You want to take them home and read them over. What you have found tonight, I think hopefully you've picked these up, and this is different items on here. Okay, your questionnaires, and then you also have your Constitution of the state of Montana, which tells that what we're going to do, and then the other thing is your alternative forms of government. We have those up there against the wall up there, but you also have these. You can pick these up and you can read them, and they will give you some ideas of what the different types of government we have available to us. We got to remember that our local government review commission was kind of come up with the 1972 Constitutional Convention. Our first Constitutional Convention was held in the year of 1889. In that year, when Montana became a statehood, the whole area of Montana was divided into 16 counties. And in between the time of 1910 and 1920, the other 40 counties were made through the legislative process. So a county is the largest political subdivision of the state that has corporate powers. A county can sue, it can be sued, it can purchase and it can hold land, it can make contracts, and it can levy and collect taxes under state law, which we all know that does happen to us. So what our purpose tonight is to ask you people what you would like to do. Before we do that, though, I have a little housekeeping I'd like to make sure we do, and that is when you come in, there's a sign-up sheet over there. I'd like to have everybody sign your name and your address on it. Behind us, we have some pop back there in the cooler. It's nice and cold, and the people who generously let us use the community clubhouse here will only charge you $1 for that great pop. And if you have a little hunger, there's some chips back there, and these are the good chips because there's no cholesterol in these chips, and they're 50 cents a bag. So that'll take care of some of that house cleaning. So let us go on with the public comments tonight in our agenda, if we have them. You know, our public comments is on items that are not on the questionnaire tonight. Yes, I certainly will. And MCAT, this is not Fox News up here, but it's really close to it. It's Fox News in Missoula. This is our MCAT, And they do our meetings here as far as Missoula is concerned, and where we go out into our communities. And they'll have everything on tape for us and be able to show it. Everything going all right now? Okay. So if we have no public comment, first of all, before we go to the citizen input on comments and questionnaires, I would like to ask any of our commissioners if they would like to say anything at the present time. Ron, you want to say anything?
It turns out that we're limited as a commission about what we can do, and you have some of that legal stuff right in front of you. But in fact, what we need to do is hear from you what the problems are, and then we have to figure out whether or not it's possible within our legal constraints of whether we can change the structure of county government to meet your needs. So that's the point. What is it the county government isn't doing that you want it to do? What is it that it's doing well, if you want to say that?
Thanks, Ron. And we're also tonight, Janet Harrison, who is our administrative secretary, is taking notes, and we're very thankful to have a lady of Janet's capabilities, because she kind of keeps us all in line, and she does a very good job in the office. So one of our ladies, Ann, just come in. Ann's on, Ann Wake's on. She's a Lolo. Matter of fact, what's kind of nice tonight is we have two residents of Lolo sitting right next to one another here. And when we go to our meetings, I guarantee you, my friends, they are on your side. They talk about what's good for Lolo at all times. So, well, it's neat to have them to bring their thoughts and your thoughts to us. So, does anybody else want to say anything? Diana? Okay, Tracy.
And one just ex-Lolo resident, as of about 6 months ago. That's me. I just wanted to let everybody know that this process of citizens reviewing their government is pretty unique in the United States. As far as I know, there's no other state constitution that allows for this. So every 10 years, Montanans get to take a look at our government to say, is it working for us? And then they elect a commission to say, hey, could you go ask a bunch of questions and do a bunch of research and come up with some recommendations. So whatever recommendations this commission comes up with will go back to the public on the ballot. So if we come up with some kind of recommendation to change the structure of the government, we don't have the power to do that. We have the power to make that recommendation and then go back to the citizens through the ballot to do so. So some of the ideas that we hear in these public meetings through the course of the next year or so, you very well could see on the ballot. So that's how that process works. And so thank you very much for coming and participating.
Thanks, Tracy. Diane?
Thanks. Just briefly, I wanted to say thank you all for being here. And just to let you know that Lolo's just the first of these community outreach meetings. We're going to be going to, I think there's 9 altogether throughout the county that we will be approaching with basically the same questions as pretty much as, I think, as what you have before you today. So, you know, don't hold anything back.
How about you, Julie? Give us some wisdom from Potomac.
Oh, well, I would like to say that we were having this meeting on Friday night, but we are not going to be having meetings in the future on Friday nights because we're going to try to not infringe on people's weekends during the summer. Also, we really do want to have you talk to your neighbors and your friends and take this information home with you and digest it and see what kind of an opportunity we might have to help you and your community. I think our purpose in getting on the study commission, at least mine is to find out if the people in this county believe the services that they need are being delivered to them, if they're happy with the government's services and how it's provided to them, and if there are things that they want to bring before the study commission as far as the form of government or how things operate, why it's important to get their ideas out in public and into the commission. So, and I thank you all for coming. I'm glad to see you here. Could I say one more thing?
You know, I certainly wish you would. That's a long drive.
No, it's not. I wanted to know if anybody that's here tonight remembers when we had the local government review about 20 years ago, and when they had county and city government review. Does anybody remember that? Okay. That puts me in the dark ages then.
We also have tonight visiting us two members from the Missoula City Commission, and they would be Jane Rechtenwald, and we have Sue Malik, who's the chairperson of the city. So it's nice having you here tonight, and we expect some input from you, but not too much. Carrie, you want to say something? I think you should.
I think I should too. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for coming again. It's nice to have people actually come and give input because, I mean, we could make our best guess, but it wouldn't actually necessarily be what you guys want. So I really think that if it were possible, I'd like to hear from everyone in Missoula County, but I don't know that that's going to happen. So I'm glad to see some people here.
Thank you, Carrie. Let us start along on our agenda and comments on the questionnaire. Let's start with number one. And number one would be, if you were a county local government study commission, what would you be looking for and what would you be asking? Is there some public comment on that?
I'd be doing just about what you're doing right now. You have to have a starting place.
Okay.
Going out to people and you know, you definitely form some questions here and.
Hang on just a second, please. Well, we have our vice chair lady here who is gonna, Vanna. Thank you, Vanna.
Always wait on this moment. A little short on the stick here. Can you tell us your name?
Hello,
Good.
my name is Michelle Landquist. I think I'd be doing just exactly what you're doing. You have to have a starting place, you form some questions. Hopefully you'll be fairly consistent in asking everyone around the county the same questions so that, you know, and maybe adding to them and coming back to those, you know, places that you didn't get to ask some of the same things as you add to these, but you need to start somewhere. And that's by going out to the public and finding out what the public has to say. And I think you did a pretty good job on these questions here right now. So hopefully you'll be going and growing from this.
Is there anything we could add?
I could think of a few things, but I'll reserve comment right now.
Thank you. Somebody else would like to make a comment on the, what we're be looking for, what we're asking for? Yep.
Use this or not?
I'm sure you can.
Can I turn this on?
Yep, you're on.
Huh? Can you hear me?
You bet. Yep.
Well, I have a lot of problems with,
We need to have your name, please, on, just for the record.
pardon?
For the record, your name, please.
Oh.
I know, but
Yeah.
for the record.
E.W. Genter,
Right.
Lolo address. I have a lot of problems with government. I've lived quite a few years in my life. I'm going on 87, and I think I'm capable of knowing right from wrong. And there's a lot of things I disagree on. And one of the things, I got a letter from the government, or from the, governor, and he can't even write his name, you can read it. And that's a lot of the politicians we find in government. They'll scribble their names, one for the secretary, maybe printing their name at the end of the letter, while you wouldn't know who they were. I guess I'm not talking to this issue, but anyway, there's a lot of problems in local government, I think, and I just mentioned a couple of them. Easements, and that state government included, is easements. When an easement isn't used, and there should be limitations on it, go back to the property owner. And another thing is the timber tax, the greenbelt tax. I bought a piece of property west of Lolo here. It's timber, it's half timber and half grazing and creek. And I was taxed about $30 an acre when I bought the property. So then I looked into the greenbelt law, and the greenbelt law was timberland. So I went in and looked it up, and I said, why is it in the greenbelt? I got 10 acres of timber, and they said, well, you're a building site. Well, it was an old building site. I got the county health department out, and I said, I want a permit to build on this mountainside. And they said, well, we can't give you a permit, it's too steep, 60% slope. So we'll put you in the greenbelt. So I went from $29 an acre to 34 cents an acre. So now these legislators are all pretty capable people, educated people, I think anyway, but then they needed more taxes, so they went to work and took me out of the green belt and passed a law you had to have 15 acres of timber or $1,500 gross proceeds from this timber a year, and I couldn't produce any of that. So they put me in agriculture classification. And this is all wrong because the big timber man next to me and neighbors, they got more than 15 acres of timber, so they're in the green belt. They charge less than $1 an acre. I haven't looked it up recently, but I'm going on it in a few weeks. And this isn't fair. They put me in agriculture classification. Well, all I can do on that mountainside is grow timber, because there's a lot of underlayment rock and other things, and I don't call that fair. If it was farm agriculture land, I'd be getting a return on it. All I get is a return when I harvest timber. Well, if I meet the 15 acre or $1,500 harvest yield, well, I won't have no timber left in a few years ago. I'll pay my taxes off my timber. Well, that isn't fair. So I've had a lot of complaint there. Of course, they say, well, it's no other classification but agriculture. So I have to go along with that until I get some fair taxes on small acreage, because I can't use it for anything else. As long as you don't change the use, it's timber. And of course, a lot of them don't see it that way, but that's the way I see it. Well, anyhow, there's another gripe I have, and that's to the mineral rights. You purchase a piece of property in western Montana today, and somebody owns this underneath the surface. And now that's not right. They're not taxed. The only time they're taxed when they mine, and then they pay a severance tax. Well, I pay a severance tax on my surface every year. If I raise livestock on it, make money, I pay taxes on it, and I pay a livestock tax. Now, is that fair? I don't think so. And of course, they got to have taxes. Then another thing is education. And they have a university mill levy through the state of Montana, and 6 mill levy is applied to your taxes yearly. Well, when it comes to elementary school and high school needs for more funding, why can't they pass a law and apply a certain mill levy for elementary and high school education? I think that would be more fair, and everybody would be paying it, just like the university levy. Oh yeah, in regard to values, land values and property values. Now, I've got 19 3/10 acres. The highway takes out 7/10 of an acre for highway travel, and I don't pay taxes on that. But when it comes to taxes, you buy a piece of property. I'm retired. I was a rancher for all my life, a rancher and a farmer. And so when it comes to property taxes, I bought a piece of rundown property west of Lolo here on Bear Creek. And it was all run down the weeds. And the house needed repair. It was a mouse house, if you like to live with mice. So then I fixed it all up, cleaned up the weeds outside the house about high and halfway. And I cleaned it up, so I improved the value. Well, now, gosh, you go to work and say, well, your cash value is worth so much after you fix it up, work your head off. Well, so I got to raise your taxes. Now, is that right? It's the same property I bought when it was all full of weeds infested. Why should I have to raise my taxes because I cleaned the thing up and made it attractive? So, I can go on, but this is all for free now.
Thank you, Mr. Jenner, and everything you've spoken to tonight about is all on record, so you will have an opportunity to go back and to see what you've been talking about, and that would be real good. We appreciate your comments. Is there any other comments on item number 1?
Dale's not on the mic.
Yep. I think so. If there aren't, let's go to item number 2, and that is, why did you or why did you not vote to review the county government? Quite an interesting question. Why did you vote for it, or if you didn't vote for it, why didn't you vote for it?
I voted for it.
Okay. Any comment on that? Yeah.
I'm going to be the big mouth of the crowd.
Sure.
I voted for the commission.
You gotta have it, please.
My name, again, Michelle Landquist, the mouth of the crowd, I guess. I voted for the commission because I'm not satisfied with the way the commissioners and Mary Dussault or the other interlocal agreements with the local agencies and boards are running this county. They're ruining this county. And I wanted it studied to see what other venues are out there.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Any other comments?
Michelle, I'm wondering, particularly, you're talking about interlocal agreements that aren't working. Could you give us some specifics there? We've been hearing about interlocal agreements, and when you tell me they're not working, I'd really love to hear more.
I guess first I'll back that statement up with the fact that I was on the Lolo Community Council for many years, and I've been very active in this community of Lolo and in the county at large on many different issues. From my standpoint, I've gone to different open houses that OPG's had regarding bike paths, one issue after another, and I've seen how the city of Missoula has skewed the numbers on different things, saying, oh yeah, everybody's all for this bike path, the Highway 12, or this bike path here, or this kind of buildings here, and this kind of development here. When they say, oh, you know, everybody that showed up, you sign in, and then you're allowed so many dots to put here and there. And when they have meetings such as, I'm going to keep going back to the bike path because that's one of the big ones that sticks in my mind. When they have meetings for this area, and they have them on the south side of Missoula at 5 to 7, from 5 to 7 in the evening, regarding, do you want a bike path up Highway 12? Hardly anybody from Lolo, except for a few active people, went there. Most of them were from Missoula that went to that meeting at that 4B's Conference Center Inn for that open house. Then they had some others throughout Missoula, and one great big one, well attended, at the university. I went to the University of Montana. I graduated from there, so I hate to say negative things about having a university in our area. It's a wonderful thing to be able to have education at our fingertips. It's also unfortunate that so many of these residents, while they're in school, are just that, school residents. They're here, they affect change, and then they move on. They're not making their homes here, but they're causing changes that are shoved down our throats. These interlocal agreements with OPG, some with the health department, what are some of the others I can't think of offhand? Parks. They're affecting, the city is actually driving things that go on in the county area. Our county has strictly been reactive and not proactive in dealing with any planning out here, and things continue to get skewed by the numbers in Missoula and the rural residents. It's like our vote and our opinion on things doesn't really matter because they can skew them any way they want to by Missoula citizens. Just one of the reasons I personally feel strongly that if we were to redo, and I'm so distrusting of government right now, it's not even funny. So it's really hard for me to answer this question of what form of government should we choose from and how should we pick, because I am so distrusting. I don't think government, from our legislature all the way down to the commissioners, are handling our taxpayers' money the way we would be handling the money, period. So for me to pick and choose a different form of government is very difficult at this time, but from what I've seen, I would rather have, as the size of Missoula being what it is, I think Missoula would be well represented to have 2 commissioners, and I think 3 to 4 to 5 commissioners, as long as we end up with an odd number throughout the rural areas, should represent the rural people. Barbara Evans no longer understands what's going on out here in this end of the county. And I'm also tired of going to commissioner meetings, whether it be for land development, subdivisions, things that we're saying, no, no, no. This isn't what we want. This isn't according to our plan. I don't care about this Senate bill that says, well, no, you gotta look at other things. You can make whatever argument you want to. It's totally subjective. OPG tells us, well, we had to write it in fluid language, so it could grow and change over time. But you know the intent of it. You were there, you helped write it. And so when you try to tell them how it was intended to be interpreted, and some developer from a organization says, oh no, well, it reads like this. Sure, it's written fluidly. You could interpret it 2 different ways. The employees at OPG change like people change their hats. So the same people that wrote the plans aren't there. They don't know you from Adam. You're trying to tell them you helped write the plan as best you could, despite the fluid language. And they're interpreting it and siding with the people from the development organizations, the consultant groups and stuff. The developers, the bankers, and the city of Missoula is running the county. And that, in effect, many of them are on the boards, the interlocal boards. Also, in effect, the city's running the county. With Missoula being the only city, incorporated city in this county, we don't have, I don't think, a prayer. Stuff until Lolo or some of the other communities on the outskirts of Missoula can incorporate themselves to finally represent themselves a little bit better. I don't know what else we're going to do. I'm tired of commissioners turning around and catching me after a meeting and saying, Michelle, we know, we didn't want to vote for it either, but you know, there's bad laws and the legislature, and go and lobby your legislature, hire a lobbyist, blah, 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 blah. You know what? I want my life back. I served on the council. I go to these meetings. I'm here now. I want to be at home with the sheep right now. I'm a farmer at heart. That's why I have my acreage and stuff. I voted for you. You're the one with the paycheck. You call the legislature. You call your people and tell them we got some bad laws. We need this changed.
Michelle.
Back to these unfair laws and the needing a change, I absolutely think that she's right. You need a change. And taxation and other things, you need to fix a lot of things here in government. You know, everyone that's elected to government, whether you're the top brass or all the way down, you're working for the taxpayers. So let's tax them fairly.
Good idea. Thank you, Mr. Jenner.
My name's Mo Gary. Yes. I have some specifics for Ron's question there. I've resigned from the Lolo Community Council. I was on it for about 1.5 years. And one of the things that motivated me to get on the council was the fact that the plan, the Lolo Comprehensive Plan, that I'd spent about 8 years attending meetings down here and going to the county commissioner's office and the planning board meetings. Not even 1 year after it was voted on by the commissioners, it became ineffective by the legislature by passing House Bill 363 or something. So, what was it?
Senate Bill 327.
Senate Bill 327, I'm nervous. In response to that, you know, I got on the council and I brought it to Elmer's attention, who's the head of the council now, and we went down to the county attorney and found out that indeed it was true. Our plan had no teeth. And we asked what we should do, and he said, well, you need to get everybody together and get kind of a consensus. You know, you need to pursue county-initiated zoning, and this is how it's done. And so we have $1,000 a year. We're a volunteer elected board with $1,000 a year budget. We spent our whole budget sending out postcards to everybody in the Lolo area twice. The first meeting, we had Mike Sahasted, the county attorney down here, to answer everybody's questions. And at the second meeting, we had 3 members of OPG, Cindy Cleddy, Jeff Shallow, and Denise Alexander, to answer all the questions again. And during the meeting, we actually had a vote. Now, there was a lot of different opinions and a lot of controversy during the meeting. Well, not necessarily controversy, but different opinions on whether incorporation would be better for us, due to everybody's extreme frustration with our dealings with the county. So anyways, it ended up being voted to pursue the county-initiated zoning, and so we continued to ask everybody, what steps do we take? How do we do this? So, because we wanted to do it right. So we were told, we just sent the letter to OPG requesting it. They asked to get funding to pursue that. And all along, we're saying, whatever you need us to do, let us know. I mean, Elmer and I did most of the footwork on that. And so all of a sudden, unbeknownst to us, we get this notification that it's been turned down because we didn't show up at the budget meeting. There were some other reasons, and the county decided that we needed petitions because they needed to know that there wouldn't be 40% of the people disagreeing with it. Now, I asked Mike Sahasted numerous times, do we need petitions? I even talked to Ann Mary and was told we don't need any petitions. So here, after spending all this time, our whole budget, getting people together, trying to get people informed, we were shot down. I'm like, you've just taught, I mean, I don't want to be involved with this group anymore. It's way too frustrating. I've testified in front of the commissioners so many times on different, because I sat up and where you're sitting and as part of the community council, got community input, wrote my letter, went down there to testify to them about different developments there. I'm not anti-development, but I like to see them done wisely. And I like to see the people's input being considered. I don't remember once that they even budged. I mean, I think they should be filmed. You know, one of the developers gets up to talk and they're going, hi, oh, isn't this wonderful, this is great, you know, and then I was there talking one time, and Barbara Evans, in the middle of my presentation, said to me, thank you, Mo. And I'm like, you know what, I'm not done. So, I mean, who wants to get involved in a process that is so abusive? It's unbelievable. And, okay, another learned helplessness. There's the subdivision that was proposed, outlet on the 93. I guess it was Rosignol, Liberty Cove. It had a number of different names. Well, we found out that MDOT, Montana Department of Transportation, had told them they couldn't develop it there because it was unsafe to have any more inputs onto Highway 93 there. And it would be unsafe to put another light in. So what does the developer do? Decides he won't outlet it onto 93, he will outlet it onto Bird Lane, which will outlet it onto 93. You talk to MDOT and you talk to the county commissioners. We can't do anything about it. It's out of our jurisdiction. Now what's up with that? Doesn't anybody have I mean, something's wrong there, right? It's a public health and safety issue that they turned the subdivision down in the beginning because MDOT told them that and they couldn't do it. And yet it's good. It's okay to outlet on a side road. They'll eventually outlet it on the highway. I don't get it. Anybody understand? Explain it. You know, and we have no idea where our tax monies that we input from this community, how they come back to us. You know, where's the accountability? And I don't know how many times I've gone before the planning board and OPG, and had OPG's and the planning board's recommendations been to not allow the variances or something or another, and the county commissioners, when the developers get up, I won't go any further. Okay. You're welcome.
We think we can read your mind.
All right, you won't hear anymore. You know, it's interesting, this is while the Lolo these are all personal, Lolo Comprehensive Plan had been voted in, and it designated a 300-foot setback from the river. And I went down and testified on that. We actually live 320 feet back from the river. And we thought 200 was fine, but 300 was great, you know. But the very first person that applied for a variance, the plan is still in effect, received it. So we contacted other people, and actually we heard from the Clark Fork Coalition about it, that they were initiating a lawsuit based on this. And, you know, and we asked to join it. And of course, in the interim time, the legislature with the Senate bill totally nullifies our, so why should anybody get involved? I mean, why should the public get involved? I mean, supposedly people want public input. Thank you for listening. But it's been really frustrating to try to be a responsible member of the community and to, you know, do what I can. Is that enough?
Besides that, a good community member.
Two-faced.
Yeah.
I believe in public service.
Well, you do a very good job. Thank you.
It's two-faced.
Anybody else from the audience like to comment on it? Is there any comment from the members?
It sounds like what I'm hearing is just that people don't think government is responsive to their needs, be it county government or legislature, statewide. It sounds as though people try to have input and they don't get an adequate response. That sounds like what your frustrations are. Am I correct? Correct. So I think that when we look at different forms of government, one of the things that we're obviously going to consider is something that will try and be more responsive. if we're to recommend a change, I think that's the primary thing that we're going to look at.
May I say something else? Again, my name is Michelle Landquist. You know, during the process of our writing of the Lolo land use plan, our planner was pulled off to go put out fires in Miller Creek and finish writing the Miller Creek plan. And when I stated earlier about the county has been in a reactive mode, when these little Lolo or area plans started coming about, we thought that they were going to be the bee's knees in helping Missoula implement some smart growth, rational, reasonable, tolerable, acceptable growth. They've embraced certain things regarding smart growth that haven't been very well received in Missoula, such as some of the infill things. But they haven't, it's like, they haven't followed the right recipe. If you read up on smart growth, these infill houses, for example, are supposed to still have the same neighborhood character as the existing houses. And if you drive around Missoula, you can see these houses sticking out like sore thumbs because they no way resemble the neighborhood character. There are an awful lot of other things in smart growth that Missoula has yet to adopt. But one of the things we hollered for out here, and I wrote a letter 2 years ago to the commissioners begging them for a moratorium, and I've still said this publicly, Montana Annotated Code does have several ways for the commissioners to implement moratoriums, temporary moratoriums. One of them is if there are studies going on, such as our highway study that they're doing right now. Some of them are if you're writing a land use plan for a specific area. You can have a moratorium for that area for up to 2 years. It's 1 year, and then you can increase it, adopt it again for another year and stuff. Our commissioners continue to say, we can't do that, we'll get sued. Well, you know, by God, their county attorneys are telling them, you can't do that, you'll get sued. But it's in our Montana codes that they could do that. It's only a temporary measure, but instead of these developers and bankers sliding these plans in and these subdivisions in under no plan or old plans, they could actually stop the growth in that area on a temporary measure until the plan is written and adopted. And then they wouldn't be in such a reactive mode all the time. These plans have not helped us because the county commissioners continue to fail to just make time stop while they're being written. And then they tell us when we say anything about road safety and health and welfare, they say, you know, that's not our job. That's DOT's job to make the roads safe. We do what we got to do, and, you know, and they meet the subdivision requirements, so we have to pass it. That's up to the DOT to make that road safe. So the DOT ends up in a reactive mode and stuff. It's time to put the fires out. And I don't know if it means getting some county attorneys that know how to interpret the law, as well as the commissioners. Somebody's got to have some guts up there.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. If we have nobody else on item number 2, let's go to item number 3. And that is, are you satisfied with the present form of government? Or would you like a different form of government? And I think we've been going through that for a little while right now. Would somebody else like to comment on that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Elmer Palmer. And part of the, I don't know whether we need a new form of government or not. But I do know that we need a form of government that will work, whether it be the present one or a new one. The problem is the commissioners have a huge number of advisories. boards. They have the Office of Planning and Grants. They've got Public Works. They've got all these people that are advisors to them. They have the Lolo Community Council. Diana, Michelle, Mo, Devin, myself, all have or are serving on that board. And I have gone up to a commissioners meeting to talk about a development coming in. OPG is sitting there. OPG introduces the thing, makes the presentation. They also have a joint planning board that is that sets and reviews every one of these developments that comes up. The last development that I was up there for, the planning board said it shouldn't be. OPG's recommendation is that it shouldn't be. And I say I was there in the form of a letter which Mo read, and that was the one that she got in trouble with Barbara Evans for. We presented the letter from the Lolo Community Council. It was read. Every one of those advisory units was against what they were doing with that particular development. And yet it passed. And it's a stupid development. They come in asking for more variances than was necessary, all so that the landowner could make a few extra bucks. I have no problem with them making a few bucks, but they don't need to make extra bucks on the burden of the citizens here in Lolo. Things like stretching blocks out, refusing to put in a street because they can put a couple more houses into that block and make it longer and have more place to build houses. 14 townhouses, 7 of them opening onto an alley, not even a street for parking. And the same answer that we get from the commissioners is, if we don't approve it, they're going to turn around and sue us. Perhaps if they would sit and listen to their boards, take a stand and say, no, we're not going to do this. This is the reason we're not going to do it. Take it to court. Let's get some of these builders out of here that are doing nothing but coming in and blackmailing the citizens of Missoula County. The second thing is that whatever we have needs to be, if we continue with commissioners, we need to look. Unless I'm mistaken, not a single one of the commissioners live outside the city of Missoula. All 3 of them live inside the city of Missoula. They do not live under the laws that they generate or the regulations that they generate, because Missoula's laws supersede them into the city. So they can do whatever they want out in the county and go back down to the comfort of their city and live. If we're going to have a county government, it needs to be a county government. Yes, Missoula City is in there, but none of the regulations apply. Let's get the people that are writing these and making these regulations live in the county where they have to live under some of the stupid things that occur. And then let them make the regulations. The rest of us can live by them. We need to have representation of the county on that board. We need to have some of them living out with us so that they see what they're doing to us. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Elmer. On item number 1, Ron, did you want to say anything about that? Because Ron is a member of the planning board.
I've been on the planning board for just 6 months, and I share your frustration as we vote against proposals 9-0 and then see them passed. So I also, as was Dale, a member of the legislature for a while, and that particular bill is under Dan McGee, remember the name, was one that actually was one of those last-minute free conference bills, one of the worst pieces of legislation that ever passed. And so right now we have no meaningful neighborhood plans. I wanted to say another thing. I was hearing you talk about citizen-initiated zoning, and before I went in the legislature, before I was on the planning board, I've always lived in Patty Canyon, and Patty Canyon has a ZD4, one of the very earliest citizen-initiated zones. And we had to change it. We had some bad language. We had to change it. It took me 6 years to get it changed so that I didn't, and Barbara Evans said, even one person being against it and we won't pass this. So it won't be that bad for you. It will take some time, but you know, one of the things I really suggest is that we have been happy where I live in terms of going to citizen-initiated zoning and having some control over our own lives. Until we get McGee's bills out of here, the Lolo plan won't mean anything. Eventually it will again, because such a bad piece of legislation will eventually get the heck out, and we can come back to meaningful plans.
Thank you. Elmer, with something else?
Elmer again. The problem with petitions, even if we were to go and chase petitions, is that we can put up a booth down here at Harvest Foods and we can get signatures to cover 65% of this population of Lolo, and it does us absolutely no good, because the people that go down to Harvest Foods are not the people that can protest it. It's the people that are living out of state. It's the freeholders of all the land. We can't even identify those people without going down and spending hours going through there. They will not very generously offer out a list of freeholders to us for us to go out and contact them. It's not just a case of finding the people in Lolo, but it's a case of finding the freeholders to chase all that down. Thank you.
Thanks, Elmer.
I need to clarify that. You've asked Vicki Zier for that list and have been refused? Okay.
Moni, you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to, Ron, it was interesting when the same thing that Elmer was talking about, that he wrote the letter, I presented that, and then I presented some other things. And I know that when I was doing my thing, I said, well, you know, I know my husband was at the planning board meeting and he told me that you're going to pave this little section of road because the development was going to have paved part of the road, and it looked like the other part, but not the little part coming onto Tyler Way, the main road that goes to the school. And in his point of clarification, you know, Nick got up and said that, no, that was a mistake made at the planning board meeting, that you were told that, but they're not paving it. And so I tried to go up and explain to them how kind of silly it was. The only way for the kids to go to school, right, is to cross that highway at that light. I mean, the only safe way is to cross at the light. Tyler Way has no sidewalks. I pointed all this out to them too. So all these kids are going to come out onto the subdivision, walk off the sidewalk on a dirt gravel road for about this far with no sidewalks, then walk back out on the street again and walk to school to cross it. So I thought, you know, what's the planning involved there? And the other thing that, the minutes of this meeting would be, I keep meaning to send for them, because at one point, when Nick Hoffman was up explaining this to them, why they need all the variances, he says, well, you know, the planning board aren't planners. You need to have schooling and education on this, you know. So anyways, so I get up and I'm being facetious and I make some comment about that. And the commentary that Gene Curtis gives is, well, you know, I spent all night, because I told him about how my husband didn't even come home till midnight after that meeting, how much time was spent trying to figure that out. And Gene, you know, she goes, and I stayed up and I tried to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. But you know what? I'm not a planner either. You know, I'm just like, help me. Does this sound crazy to anybody?
Glad to have your input. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to say anything about our item number 3? If not, let's go on to item number 4. That is, do you think the county delivers services adequately under the present form of our government? And how could you see any improvement? And I think probably we've heard just a little bit tonight. Does anybody else like to make a comment on item number 4? All right, new blood.
Hi there. Bruce Landquist and Lolo. Gee, this question kind of seems redundant with the other for it, but I've been a Missoula County resident all my life, and I've lived in Lolo for over 26 years, and I find it kind of remarkable in a way that people are still trying, like your commission here, to make sense out of what we're going through. My wife was on the community council. Diana Mitchell was on the community council. Elmer's on it. A lot of people in this room are on it. It's a thankless job. One of the things that I'm most interested in is to see if you people actually get enough public participation in your little journey to actually get enough input to see if anybody really is interested in this county in fixing this mess. As far as county services go, Mr. Erickson here is on the planning board now. I've been to numerous planning board meetings. I have to say that I totally agree with Mr. Reed's letter of resignation. I think that our Office of Planning and Grants has absolutely no professional expertise in rural planning. Therefore, no area in Missoula County outside of Missoula is competently represented by those people. I think the commissioners realize this, and I think they ignore it. I think our county attorney realizes this, and I think he's happy with it. I think his deputy attorneys also realize this, and they participate in it. I've seen some remarkable imbecilic comments at some of the meetings about some of the interpretations of recent legislation, and I just can't believe that you can take somebody like Jim Nugent from the city who will actually sit there and take the time to come up with a written interpretation of how he views some of this new legislation so that people in the city government can utilize that and understand it. But if you ask our county attorney's office for a written interpretation, you won't get it. Why is that? You will not get it. I've asked them. So I'm not real satisfied with those folks. The county commissioners, I think basically, from what I can see from a lot of the other meetings that I've been to, I think probably the most remarkable one that I can think of here of recent days was a transportation plan executive committee meeting, of which one county commissioner was on that. Several public works people were on it. Some MDOT people were on it. And a remarkable number of businessmen, no offense, Dale, a remarkable number of realtors were there, and these people are paid to be at these meetings. These aren't well-publicized meetings. The general public really probably isn't even aware that they exist, but this was the final meeting for the next 20 years on how they were going to spend money to maintain the roads in Missoula County. 20 years, folks. And you have all these people from professional organizations that go to these meetings during the day that are paid to go to them. The average citizen can't do that. They're out working. So I'm not real happy with the way that a lot of the meetings are scheduled, and their little agendas seem to preclude your average citizen who has to work for a living being able to participate on a board level in their county government. I find it remarkable that you can take something like the planning board, you can take RSID 901, you can take the Fish and Game people, you can take the Department of Transportation people, and about probably 10 or 15 other agencies and groups, all recommending the same thing, and yet the county commissioners, in a very quick way, just kind of overrode all those people and decided to go ahead and pursue this one particular subdivision anyway, regardless of what was going to happen with it. There was no planning, no discussion. Actually, they came outright and said that there would be no discussion because they couldn't discuss how that was going to affect the local school. Well, I find that insane. There was no discussion really on the safety and welfare of the people traveling up and down Highway 12. We all got to give our little presentation and we came up with the same pat answer, well, that's the Department of Transportation's problem. Well, no, it's not, folks, because at that meeting that I went to, you don't have any money for 20 years to spend on that highway. So what are you going to do? Well, we don't know. It's not our problem. You have this ongoing mess between Missoula and Lolo, and I figured it out because I've lived here for so long. I've spent somewhere in the neighborhood just between Lolo and Missoula over 3,500 hours driving a car. Night, day, weekends, all seasons of the year, I've seen it all. And it's getting to the point where I can honestly say that I don't think a month goes by that I do not end up having to take some sort of action to stay out of an accident, personally. I see this all the time. You ask the county commissioners, well, what are you going to do about this? Well, that's not our problem. That's the Department of Transportation's problem. Okay, so you go down and you talk to the Department of Transportation people, and you spend a couple days of your time down there as you can schedule it in and talk to their engineers. And they finally tell you, well, we've given up talking to Missoula County. They don't listen. They don't want to hear what we have to say. The Office of Planning and Grants could care less what we say. So we don't make any more recommendations to them unless something is so blatantly obvious that we cannot ignore it, and we would get in trouble if we did. But aside from that, they don't hear from us about anything at any time because it's a complete waste of our time. We're too busy putting out fires trying to figure out how to stay ahead of the infrastructure as they merrily grant one subdivision proposal after another. There's no active communication between Missoula County and Ravalli County about what they're doing with development. Well, if they can't do that, then how can they responsibly maintain that they're looking out for the public's safety and welfare when there's only one highway that connects Lolo to Missoula? There is no alternative route. There's no frontage road. There's no East Side Highway. That's it, folks. That's the only road. They've commissioned a study. Those people are supposed to study this and come up with some alternatives on how to fix this problem. But the people doing the study are astonished because every time they turn around, they have to factor in yet another subdivision that they've decided to pass. Ravalli County's doing the same thing. It's a common road between the two counties. Why aren't the two counties talking? That's insanity. You can sit there and beat the little drum about public safety and health and welfare. If you want to do something constructive with that, you have to put it in writing. You have to submit it to the commissioners. You have to make it a known record for the county, and that way if somebody gets killed specifically over something that you pitched a bitch about, then maybe somebody can sue the county, and that seems to get their attention. So you have to spend your God-given time researching all this stuff with people like the Department of Transportation, and then writing it all up to create a paper trail so that the county can't ignore it, because that's sure what they'd like to do, but it kind of irritates them when you put it in writing. Now, as far as services go, I think Missoula County is really derelict in that. If you want to see a classic example of it, you can go up on the hill here in Lolo. There are some people here in the audience that live up there on that hill. Those are county roads, folks. They've never been maintained. You ask the county, well, how are you going to maintain these county roads that are going to end up deeded over to the county in all these subdivisions when you don't maintain the ones that we already have? You get no answer.
RSID, that's what you get.
You know, we're supposed to get taxed more and more and more so that these people can put in their subdivisions. And then probably the greatest insult to injury of all people, all freeholders that actually have vested time in an area, is you ask them, well, what's going to happen to our property taxes when somebody sits over here and sells a quarter-acre lot for $80,000, and I have 7 acres right across the highway? What's that going to do to my property taxes? Well, your property is going to be worth more money. Maybe I don't want it to be worth more money. Maybe I would like to retire there. So there's lots of people in Missoula County that would like to live here, that would like to retire here, that are having to sell their places and move on. And, you know, quite frankly, I have to agree with what my wife said. I think Missoula County is literally run by the banks, some of the bigger realtors, the developers, all the construction companies. It's the only industry that Missoula County has anymore. They've actually managed to destroy most of the other industry here. And aside from recreation and tourism and the university, there really isn't anything else there. So they have to continue to chip away at this last sacred cow that we have. It's a pretty big cash cow. And I think they actually like it when people have to move on and they can't afford their taxes anymore, because who's going to be able to afford those larger pieces of property? The developers. And then they'll buy them up and divide them up too. I think it's a marvelous self-perpetuating thing that they've fallen into here in Missoula County. And to be honest with you folks, from what I can see, Missoula's been setting itself up for this for probably 30 years. You look at the people that are on the boards in Missoula, that's very educational. You can do that on the web. Look at those sites and see who those people are on all these different boards, and you'll see the same names show up all the time. It's quite interesting, so good luck to you folks.
Well,
I think you're going to need it.
Bruce, thank you very much. I can certainly understand your frustrations.
Could I just ask for a clarification? What subdivision is everybody talking about up Highway 12?
Lolo Creek Trails.
Lolo Creek Trails?
Yes.
Up the 93 house.
Up 93 and 12.
12.
They're talking about 12. Lolo Creek Trails.
Do we have any other further comment on item number 4?
I fully agree with this gentleman that just spoke in regard to county regulations and something and government. There's one thing I've run into is if I want to get some information from the county attorney or someone in that, it seems like they're always too busy to listen to you. And when they do listen to you, they always pass the buck. It's according to code so-and-so, well, I don't think that this is workable, all this and that. Well, sure, they don't do nothing about it, it isn't workable. And they print a code for you to look it up. Why can't they give you the code? They just avoid telling you what you actually want to know. They just give you a code number. And of course, I'm from an old timer. I've been around the block quite a little, but since it comes to this new technology, computers and everything, I'm green at that. And being 87, I'm too old to learn. I guess I wouldn't be if I took the time.
Have you started your computer yet, Mr. Jackson?
Yeah.
Great, thank you, sir. Yes,
I, too, am a member of the community council, as they've said. His name is Devin Jackson. I'd just like to say that, you know, as far as the services provided, I personally don't think that the county commissioners gain anything by approving one subdivision anything. Personally, I don't think they wanted to do that. It's part of their thankless job. Their comment is, we're going to get sued by the developer. Well, if everybody along the line, everybody in the community said, we don't want this, and one guy who says, oh, I'm going to do it, and they say, well, it's not against the law, we can't, then what really are they, if they don't have the authority to say no, then what really is their position? And why are we sending our recommendations to them in the first place? Communication is not an easy thing with these people. If you've called the Office of Planning and Grants, you've been through the phone, run around. I mean, you can walk in and get information if it's there printed, but if it's not there waiting for somebody, it's really hard to get some. The whole system, I think, is just really running around with its head cut off right now. Nobody knows exactly what they can and can't do, and so they're afraid of doing something they're going to get sued for. Well, you have to take a stance. You have to put your foot down and have some authority by somebody, and nobody's taking it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Thank you for your good comments. Any other audience comments on item number 4? If not, let's go to item number 5, and it really pertains to Lolo. It says, do you think the county delivers services adequately under the present form of government? And then are the services in the Lolo that Lolo wants, are they receiving from the government? Is Lolo getting the services that you want? Item number 5. I think we probably heard that answer. Bruce, do you want to say one more word?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Bruce Landquist again. And our fire department works really well, and we haven't figured out why they haven't screwed that up yet. And aside from that, the rest of it's worthless.
Thank you for your short comment, Bruce. Mo, do you want to say something?
No.
Okay.
I'm in agreement.
Do you get good service in the sheriff's department?
Yeah.
Because I know we do, and I was wondering when you didn't include it.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I had a long conversation with the sheriff's department and the highway patrol people. And I have to apologize to them now because I've been derelict. Those people, I think, do a remarkable job when you consider the fact that they don't give them enough money to do their job. The sheriff's department is crippled. It's reactionary. They do not like the way that they have to do their job now. I think they do an exemplary job considering how much they have to do per man hour and how many people they actually have working for them. The highway patrol people, fortunately, there's some legislation now that they're thinking of doing it. They may have already passed it anyway. trying to give those folks some more money. They haven't had an extra person on their force for, I believe, 20 years.
In 74.
And that's insane, too. And when you take something like Highway 93 here, and you talk to the highway patrol people and the sheriff's department about that, those people love to do traffic enforcement because that way they can rationalize what they do with their time. There's a paper trail if you're an officer and you're writing tickets. And if those people had their way, they'd spend a lot more time doing that, but they're too busy running around doing other things. And, you know, if anything else, I would have to say that I would like to see some changes in our county as far as funding for those people. Since the Highway Patrol's a state agency, I'd like to see something happen with the Sheriff's Department so that those people could probably get a better night's sleep sometimes. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Ron, when, off the record, when the sheriff lives on St. John's in Lolo, you have to expect that you get good service.
The question on item number 5 is, are there services that Lolo wants that it's not receiving from the county government? And Bruce answered some of those, but I would like to have a little more comment on something that you're not getting out here. You seem to be satisfied with the fire department and with the sheriff's department, with your law enforcement. I know you're not satisfied with the Office of Planning Grants, but is there anything else? Is the road department all right for you?
Yeah, we better not say anything bad about it yesterday.
This is my own agenda. Well, Gary speaking again is, you know, I just think Lolo looks not very good as far as aesthetics, you know. So I've been working on trying to get the median, something done with the medians, and they did just mow them. That if you would have driven down here a week ago, would have just been weed patches out in the middle. But the MDOT people did come down and met with us yesterday. And we're going to get together and we're going to try to raise some money and get some things done, and got a volunteer crew to plan it. And I, you know, and just that even maintaining something along the highway would be nice, so that it was look nicer to go into Lolo. I just started the Lolo Beautification Club, and I'm applying for a grant, park grant. And I did the little landscaping out in front, and I intend to finish landscaping around here. There has been a fair amount of vandalism here, which is probably because, like they talked about, there's inadequate services there, but with you know, police and stuff. But you know, if I had my best case scenario, there'd be more funding for parks and different other things to improve the quality of life. I know I'm having not having any children of my own, but being involved in raising 2 kids. There's nothing to do with Lolo, you know. So I mean, it'd be nice if, you know, maybe even, I know there's a library at the school we can use, but just some other services. I would like to see Lolo become a community, which I love the vision of a comprehensive plan, but it's been hard to generate community here with, you know, basically everything is, we have to raise the money for ourselves and do it involving making the community look better.
Hey, thank you, Mo. Thank you very kindly. Any comments from the...
Just that I thought I heard comments earlier regarding road conditions and those services. I think I heard some comment about up on the hill, how the road surfaces up there have never been maintained, and the cost of the toll that will take.
Okay, that's in the record. Thank you. If no other comments on item number 5, let's go to item number 6. That one says that we want to rank the county services in the order of importance, whether it be roads, land use, planning, health department, sheriff's department. And I don't know whether you want to rank them, but let's go this way here. Let's talk about the good stuff first. What is good? Get up and tell us what's good.
Law enforcement. I think law enforcement here in Lolo is, we've been getting a good share of law enforcement out
Okay.
here. Even though, well, as Mo says, we'd like to see more money out here for parks, I think we've done pretty well with the county park department. Now, part of that's cash in lieu of coming back from all those developments. We'd rather see it come some other way, but the park department we've had at least 4 different parks here in Lolo have received grants for the beautification of the parks and for upkeep on items that are in the parks. Diana is correct. There's some roads up on the hill that really need to be resurfaced. Part of it was the development that was in here. There's almost probably 2 a week somewhere in Lolo. There are leaks in the water system from the pipes that were put in back in 1972, 73, 74 timeframe. That means the roads have got to be dug up. Sometimes they have to dig, for instance, on Dallas, they dug probably close to 100 yards up there, getting leaks fixed up there within the last little bit. The roads do need it. We have an outstanding RSID 901 out here. That is our water and sewer department. They have been under budget. They have not raised the rate on the RSID for the last 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Somebody else on 901? Anybody else on 901? I guess I'm it. Okay, well, anyway, they have added a very large extension to the plant down there that's been able to increase the capacity, which is allowed to give us more development. And they have kept the same rate. They are paying off all the incurred debts for the expansion out of what they have saved by doing upkeeps and by the added capacity that they've put in. We really could use the land use planning out here. We could use the land use planning that met what we have asked for. We need to have the county listen to what the people out here are saying. You don't take and put 56 houses on what's the acreage? 96 houses on 50-some acres when no other house in the area is under an acre, and that's what they've allowed to have happen out here.
20 of it's on mountainside, so essentially it's 92 houses on 20 acres.
Yeah, so it's really they need we need some support in the land use.
They can hook to your sewer system with that home.
Pardon?
They can hook to your sewer system.
That one's going to be hooked to the sewer system. That's what lets him put it in. Otherwise, he'd be at a density of about 45, 50 homes out there would be the max he could put in with the sewer system, with putting septics in. But because we have the sewage now, he's able to put the 90-some houses out there. The same with these other developments that have gone in. If they had to put septics in, they'd have to be at 1 per acre or less. And now they're able to put them down onto as little as a 6 per acre, most of the development down in there. Health Department, pardon?
Is that going to be a stress on the sewer, on the wastewater treatment plant?
They say right now, what they're doing is they're selling each one of these developments one hookup, and when they come around to do the actual hookups and put the houses in, some of them may have to wait because they will end up with the capacity. But they figure that we had 280, 300 hookups available with the current capacity ratings, but with some of the things that they've done down there, they've gone to the state and they're expecting possibly as many as another 400 hookups to become available here without adding to the sewer system.
Elmer, do you know how many hookups that they have committed to should all of these approved developments build out to capacity?
Somewhere in excess of the 300.
Thank you.
I have another question.
But they have guaranteed this Lolo Trails, all of their.
Yes, that one has
because of
been
the
guaranteed, all of theirs.
infrastructure that they're putting in. That's the only one.
Go ahead.
Is there a, I'm Ann Wixon, and I live up the creek here. Did they put any kind of contingency language into what they did for the developer? Should they contaminate any of anybody's well water that's down? No.
Downstream?
Or across the fields?
No,
So there's nothing in there that says,
there is nothing on those.
There's also nothing that says that our wells won't maybe, don't have the potential to dry up with the drawdown from the pump.
And they are pumping water from the lower up to the upper now. The second main well site for the 901 is right at the Holt Ranch there, and is pumped up over the hill to join the tank system up on the hill. They still have an upper well, but those three tanks on the hill are filled partially by the water coming from right down here, which is drawing out of the lower aquifer.
So Elmer, my question to you is then, is both your water and your sewer system, they're self-paying for themselves?
They were put in originally in 1974, 75, somewhere along there. My house was built in 78, and we were down on the line. The ones on Ridgeway were going in 75 when I was up at the university, and they had the RSID in then, and they've expanded it twice since then. And yes, it's all, those of us that are on it we are paying for it. It's all self-paid. And from what we've paid in, they have been able to make the addition to add more capacity to it. And with what they plan to hook to it, they should be able to put the second stage of the expansion in and be able to generate somewhere close to 1,000 more hookups. So that's a good program. Fortunately, the only thing the county does is advise us, I think.
Maybe
So,
Thank you, Elmer. Are there any other comments on? Yes, sir.
As far as ranking the services, my name is Devin Jackson, that's right. As far as ranking the services we're getting, obviously, there's some major issues here. 93 is at max capacity right now, every day. And Highway 12, there are more and more trucks every day. And the people of the community are concerned about that. But the biggest concern is 6 developments, and then on top of that, the ski resort. We need some serious planning. We need some real serious set rules regarding what's going to happen here. Otherwise, all those people who are currently living on Mormon Creek, a lot of them will not be able to afford their property taxes anymore. I mean, things like that need to be addressed before this starts to occur. And we have the ability to. We think we should take that chance.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other comments, public comments? I would like to ask a question, if I may, to whoever would like to answer. That's the proposed ski resort down the road. That can be good for your community.
That's a good question.
I think so. Okay. That's just a question.
I disagree.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it's the kind of jobs or industry that we want, that we've been hoping to try to get here in Lolo.
Come on, Michelle, get the mic there.
We were trying to encourage some jobs here, clean industry, that would allow people to live and work here instead of living here and working in Missoula, which would help lessen the traffic and the safety hazards. And that's one of the things that, for years I've said, I'm not against growth. I'm against irresponsible growth. I would like rational, sane growth, And some of that rational, sane growth would be bring in some industry here, some clean businesses that will pay a living wage so that people can live here and work here and not have to depend on Missoula for its jobs. The ski resort is going to increase traffic, increase tourism, increase property values, and not pay living wages to anybody that doesn't perhaps have their own personal business up there, such as a sporting goods store, an outlet store for shopping and so on, or a manager in a managerial capacity with the golf course and everything else that they propose bringing in. All it is going to do is further drive up property values, and then the trickle effect from driving up property values is raising taxes and making it less affordable for us to think of staying here, growing old, and retiring here on our incomes, and we'll have to go somewhere else. So I disagree. I think it's not going to do well for Lolo. It's going to make a few people very wealthy, and it's going to change Lolo forever.
Thank you for your analysis.
Devin Jackson again. It is two very distinct points of view to look at it. The first, obviously, as a businessman, I'm thinking, there's a guy making a few $100 million down the road from me. I want to cash in, right? And there's obviously going to be some people who make a large amount of money off this. But as far as how it affects the community, that's a different matter. Aspen, which is what he wants to model it after, has been entangled for years in planning battles. I mean, the lawsuits go on and on. If you go online and look up Aspen, it's not pretty. It just continues to go. There's rumors that that's why Hunter S. Thompson killed himself. I mean, there will be some serious fights if this goes, and there's no way around it. I think that's what's going to happen. As far as allowing people to live here and not work in Missoula, I think what's going to happen is the people who work there are going to live in Missoula and work there because housing's going to be cheaper in Missoula. That's the way it's going to work. But there is going to be a lot of money made. It is going to turn Lolo into a much larger community, and so there is some very positive aspects that can be drawn from it.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin. Any further comments? None? Excuse me, let's go to item number 7. And that one is the Missoula city boundaries expand according to the areas annexed. How will it affect your town?
This is Elmer Palmer again. This is, I think, Dale, a rather important one. While Diana was still on the community council with me, we had a gentleman come and talk to Diana, and she brought the matter to us at the council. He lives down near the county line. Florence extends their fire district into Missoula County up to a certain point. We don't know exactly where that line is, but two people living down there on the same size lot, same size house, found themselves, one of them was paying the Florence Fire Department for his fire protection in his taxes that goes to Ravalli County. And the other one was paying his taxes into Missoula County, going to Missoula County. When they first moved in out there, they found that their price of their taxes for fire protection was about the same. At the time that the gentleman talked to us, his taxes had risen to the point where he was 5 to 6 times higher than the person that is paying their taxes into Florence, because the cost of running the Missoula County Rural Fire Department does not change. But as they annex places to the Missoula city, that shrinks the county. Those people then get to pay into the Missoula City Fire Department, and the Missoula County Fire Department has got to draw its revenue from the remaining portion of the county. So every time that Missoula annexes another portion of the county into Missoula City, we see our taxes going up in the area of fire protection. I'm sure that there are other things. I'm sure that parts of the sheriff's budget does the same thing, which raises the costs out here because they don't have the prime law enforcement responsibility in the city that they do in the county. So we see as the city grows, our taxes grow right along with the city. The other thing that it does is here in Lolo, it becomes very important to us because we have been talking about incorporation out here in Lolo. We can incorporate, right now we have an agreement with the city that they will not incorporate, will not annex Lolo, and we got about a year and a half left.
End of this year.
You only have until the end of December of this year.
However, as OPG says, they're not looking this way, they're looking the opposite directions right now. Fortunately for us. But if Missoula grows out this way too much further, there is a law that states that you cannot have two towns within 4 or 5 miles. You can't incorporate within 5 miles of or 4 miles of another city. So if Missoula moves to the point where they're inside that limit, then we will be forced to remain unincorporated out here in Lolo. And we know that it's going to take us a little bit longer than that to get this done. We've been working on it for 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, 10 years. And
Different groups have worked on it off and on for about 10 years probably.
yeah, so that can affect Lolo and some of the other small communities around. But definitely we see our taxes rising every time that Missoula incorporates another portion of the county or annexes another portion of the county into the city.
Okay, thank you. Further comments on item number 7? The Missoula city boundaries coming out your way. Is everybody happy about that?
I think Elmer's pretty much summed it up for me.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Let's go on to item number 8. Is Lolo effectively represented by the Board of County Commissioners regarding land use planning and growth? And now, what words should we go on this time?
I think we both.
Yeah, thank you. There we go.
Got some fresh blood.
That's really, my name is Chris Barnes, and I am really only talking to be some fresh blood so you hear from somebody else, because I'm basically going to say what you've already heard. My wife and I have lived in Lolo only for 5.5 years, so we might be considered part of the problem. But I think we are both shocked at the lack of planning, or shall we say the lack of teeth in the planning, that did come to a head with the Lolo Greed trails there. Lolo Creek trails, Freudian slip. That, you know, I remember going to a first meeting that one of the developers had. It was at the school and had a plan for 20 some odd homes, and I remember thinking that seemed to be an awful lot for that area. And the next thing we know, we turned around and it was 90 some odd homes in the same area. And the county commissioners heard from lots of people, including my wife, about how detrimental this was going to be to the area. We didn't want this, and we heard, as everybody knows, well, there's nothing we can do about it. There's something wrong with that, to say there's nothing we can do about it. And, you know, maybe it takes another law to repeal Mr. McGee's law. So are the county commissioners working on that? I'm lucky, we are lucky to live in a place that has citizens-initiated zoning, thanks mostly to Tracy. But there needs to be some serious planning in this part of the county. And I'm not speaking from someone who, now that I'm here, would like to shut the door and keep anyone else from moving here. But this is absurd. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very kindly.
I would like to say something on that.
You know what? I'd like to have you say something.
Oh, you know what, we've heard enough yet.
Okay. There's Michelle Landquist again. There's something that I'm just sort of confused about. And I don't think I really confuse easily on issues that I thought I understood. So we have this land use plan, and I make no bones over the fact that it's got this fluid language that we did not want, and we've tried really hard to have language that no matter how you read it, there's only one way to interpret it. We did not get that. That did not make me and some other people very happy, and that is the largest fault with our Lolo land use plan. Then we have Dan McGee's Senate bill that passed and got signed into law. And I checked with OPG, and it was Monty Sipe at the time who was waiting to find out how this law was going to change our land use plans. What I was told was the only thing that's going to change is that a subdivision could not be approved or disapproved based solely on a land use plan. They had to consider other outside information. Okay, so this could be, I thought, a good thing. We can use this bill to our advantage in trying to express our interests, say, again, this subdivision, the big one that everybody's been talking about. We can not only use our land use plan, because the developers and their consultant firms, they use the land use plan, and OPG still looks at, when they're presenting their comments, saying, this fits with the plan, da-da-da-da-da, and they sing this little song about how this fits with the plan, which makes it seem like this is a good thing. The consultants use it, they twist the words so it fits the plan. So you think that, well, okay, they're following the plan, this is good, so what about this bill out there? So, and I use parts of the plan, in our plan, that says, you know, if certain things have changed, you know, since this plan was written in an area, it may negate the fact, a recommendation for what this plan recommended, such as the Travelers Rest Park entrance that's now off of Highway 12. And I use that as an example. When our plan was written, we knew that Travelers Rest Park was off of Mormon Creek. We had no idea that they would be accessing a state park off of 12. So I use, and a museum across the street from there. So I use that as and several subdivisions further up the way. I use these different things as a means of saying, look, our plan didn't account for these things happening on Highway 12. So what you're saying as this subdivision really does fit in the Lolo land use plan recommendations, it really doesn't, because these other things were never taken into consideration. And if you consider the Senate bill and realize you have to consider outside information aside from the stuff that's in your land use plan, you have to consider these issues. I tried using that plan to that way because that's what I was told, that our land use plan still has teeth. The problem is it's written fluidly, so whoever's interpreting that, whatever dentures you put on that day, that's the kind of teeth it has. You know, so I guess I'm kind of confused as to, when we talk land use plan, technically, we do have a land use plan. Technically, that Senate bill should be able to be used the way it was intended. You can't solely deny or approve a subdivision based solely on a land use plan. You have to be allowed to consider new or other information. So in that regard, that bill's not that bad, but OPG, again, depending on whose hat they're wearing, interprets things the way only they can. We, the people living in the areas, are still not being listened to. So for us to say we need a land use plan with teeth, we need a land use plan that's written in very distinct language, not fluid OPG language. Not written by OPG, written by the citizens here, which is what it started out to be. And then we were, pretty much told that we had to leave it to the professionals. There were still areas that we got shoved down our throat. They heard us, but they didn't listen to us. And that's what they do a lot. And I, like Mo, have been to several commissioner meetings regarding subdivisions, and County Commissioner Evans has said, okay, I think that's enough. And anybody else that has the same sentiments to say, you can just say ditto what she said and stuff. And that's not giving people the public process. Why should people get involved in the public process when you have commissioners doing that to you in public? It's rude and it's wrong.
And thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it very much. Further comment?
Ditto that.
Ditto that. Ditto that. Well, we got one gentleman here. Come on up, Mr. Chairman.
I think in concluding all these comments...
Just a second. Give us your name for the record again.
Bill Genter.
There you go.
EW. From all these comments that's here today, there's some good and some I don't believe too much in, because they expect your government to do everything for you. Can't you do something for yourself once in a while? Good night alive. I live up Lolo Creek here, and like I said before, I bought a run-down acreage, and I beautified it, cleaned it up, and it's attractive. Now they tax me more for it because the value went up. Why should we be taxed for something that you maintain and keep in good condition? And your right-of-way, Highway 12, it gets littered. I go out and pick up the beer cans and paper napkins and diapers for babies. Yeah. It's a good place to dispose it on a highway right-of-way, because then if it's near you, you pick it up and clean it up, and those that don't give a care, oh, the county's got to do that, or the state's got to do that, or, oh, that's the Boy Scouts' job. Can't you do anything for yourself, you people? We got so many people that say, the government should do this, government do that. Well, do some of it for yourself once in a while, and help your neighbors out. I've helped neighbors many times under certain conditions, and good night alive. No, you shouldn't have to do that. Let the government do that. Let the state do that. Federal government. Good night alive. We got a lot of lazy people around. I'm just getting sick and tired of hearing them. They won't do anything for themselves. They won't keep their property attractive. Clean it up. Don't get so lazy. Oh, just an example. I had a ranch over at Darley, and we had a lot of beer cans stripped along the right-of-ways. And so I and a couple neighbors, went out to clean up these beer cans and other disposal things. And finally one guy, he told me, he said, oh, I'm tired of this. I think I'm going down to Darley and get a beer. So the two of us, we kept on, we cleaned up what was adjacent to our property. And it really looked good. It wasn't a napkin here, or a baby diaper here, or anything like that. So we gotta have more volunteers to keep this community in good, attractive conditions. We have this here median down here at Lolo. They planted it up with trees and shrubs, and that's what you got there now. Weeds and nothing. I tell you, it's disgusting, really is.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jenner. Kevin, you're next. Give him a good word, will you, Kevin?
Well, the question was, are we being effectively represented, or the citizens of Lolo being effectively represented? And I think, as you've heard here several times, the only people that the commissioners effectively represented was the future proposed citizens of Lolo, not the existing ones. And that is not helpful to us in any way.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there any further comments before we go into our member comments from the audience?
Ditto that.
You got that ditto too?
Yeah, we'll ditto that.
Okay, a lot of dittos in here, great. Bruce?
Bruce Lankquist. A little historical note here. There were a lot of people in Lolo that did a land use plan before we moved here. And when we were going through our last land use plan update, it became kind of apparent to a lot of us that were involved in that those original people really weren't involved in the new one. And that kind of made us curious because those people actually had deep, deep roots in Lolo. A lot of them were large freeholders. They were pivotal people in Lolo as far as its economy and its history. And when we started talking to those people about why they weren't involved in the new plan, they basically said that they had already participated in that process once. They did not get what they want. They did not get what they were promised, and they certainly weren't going to waste their time again. I feel at this point in time that we've had a learning experience out here in Lolo with our land use plan, for good or bad, one way or the other. It took us about 7 years, I believe, and actually the Lolo Community Council kind of indirectly came about because of problems that we were having with development out here when that started. I feel sorry for the people out in Frenchtown and Waimala because their plan, I'm sure, will be every bit as worthless as ours if OPG writes it the same way that they did ours and interpret it the same way that they do ours, depending upon what given day they decide to interpret it which way and for who. So I think it's kind of interesting that there's still people out here in Lolo that would like to see something done, would like to see some changes made. Some comments were made tonight about incorporation.